The town of Red Hollow had learned long ago not to stare when Magnolia Graves walked past. She was enormous, not just tall but commanding, broad-shouldered, heavy-footed, wrapped in white silk that strained at the seams. She looked less like a bride and more like a force of nature temporarily dressed for a ceremony. Men whispered. Women stepped aside. Doors closed a second faster than usual. Today was her wedding day, and Eli Mercer wished the ground would open and swallow him whole. Eli was a cowboy by trade and by posture, sunburned neck, quiet eyes, hands rough from rope and reins. 26 years old. Never touched a woman, not because he didn't want to, but because the world had always felt louder than he was. Magnolia had chosen him anyway. They stood alone in the church's back room, the ceremony only minutes away. Eli stared at his boots. Magnolia studied him like a storm studying the land. Finally she spoke. "Do you know why people fear me?" she asked. Eli swallowed. "Because you're strong." She smiled, but there was no softness in it. "Because I take up space. Because I don't apologize for it." Silence pressed down between them. Then she asked the question, the one that made his heart slam against his ribs. "Can you satisfy me, Eli Mercer? Not her body, her life." Eli's hands trembled. Every instinct told him to run. She was bigger than him in every way, physically, socially, emotionally. Loving her meant standing in the open where everyone could see his fear. He lifted his head. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I've never been enough for anyone before." Magnolia's expression changed. For the first time, she looked tired. "I don't need perfection," she said quietly. "I need someone who won't shrink when I walk into the room." Eli took a breath. Then another. "I can't promise I won't be scared," he said. "But I won't run. I'll stand. I'll learn. I'll choose you every day." The dangerous question hung in the air. Then Magnolia laughed, deep, warm, real. She reached down, took his shaking hand and squeezed. "That," she said, "is more than enough." The church bells rang, and for the first time in his life, the virgin cowboy walked forward, not as a boy afraid of the world, but as a man brave enough to meet it. Marriage did not quiet Red Hollow. If anything, it made the town louder. People watched Eli Mercer, the way they watched a man walk a rope over fire, waiting for the moment he'd fall. They expected him to disappear beneath Magnolia Graves' shadow, to become a joke, a cautionary tale. But Eli woke every morning and chose to stand. Life with Magnolia was not gentle. Doors were too small. Beds broke. Strangers stared. There were days when Eli felt himself shrinking inside, old fears clawing their way back up his spine. And Magnolia noticed everything. "You're pulling away," she said one night. Her voice low, not angry, afraid. Eli sat at the edge of the bed, hands clasped. "The world keeps telling me I'm not enough for you." She knelt in front of him, massive hands framing his face so he couldn't look away. "The world doesn't get a vote." Tears burned his eyes. "What if one day you realize they were right?" Magnolia rested her forehead against his. "That dangerous question again," she murmured. "You keep asking it instead of listening." "To what?" "To me." She stood, straightened, and for once looked uncertain. "I chose you because you see me, not as something to conquer or fear, but as someone to walk beside. If you ever stop believing that, that's what would break us." Something settled inside Eli then. Not confidence, not pride, responsibility. The understanding that love was not about satisfying someone else's size, strength, or expectations, but about meeting them with honesty and refusing to run. Years later, when the town had grown used to Magnolia Graves and stopped whispering, when Eli Mercer had learned how to take up space without apology, people would say strange things. They'd say she softened him. They'd say he tamed her. They were wrong. What truly happened was simpler and rarer. A gigantic bride asked a dangerous question, and the virgin cowboy answered it not once, but every day that followed. By staying, by standing, by loving without shrinking,